I will go ahead and say that I do have a favorite. Hello and welcome back to my channel, Hexes and Horrors. Today we're going to be talking about Salem, Massachusetts hotel reviews and recommendations. So if you've watched any of my previous videos on Salem, Massachusetts, which were from this past August, I guess August of 2023, it's now February of 2024, or actually it's March. It's March. You might have heard me say that I've been visiting Salem for a really long time. I've been visiting since the 1990s, and I like to just throw that in there so that people know that I have kind of seen the place change a little bit over time. And obviously, it's given me ample time to check out different hotels, bed and breakfasts, and Airbnbs once Airbnb became a thing. So I'm going to give my pros and cons of each hotel or bed and breakfast or Airbnb that I've stayed at so that you can decide for yourself if it's a good fit for a place to stay when you visit Salem. We're starting first with the Stepping Stone Inn, which is not really a hotel that's talked about a whole lot, at least on social media. I feel like everyone obviously talks about the Hawthorne Hotel, which we will get to, but I've never really heard anyone stay at the Stepping Stone Inn or mention it. I stayed there with my mom in the summer of 2021, I believe it was. It was my first time staying there. It is a bed and breakfast, and it's in the most perfect location, basically the same location as the Hawthorne. It is diagonal from the Hawthorne, and it's right next to the Salem Witch Museum. It's to the left of it. So if you're looking at the Salem Witch Museum and you look to the left, kind of right behind that statue that's in the center of the road, you'll see the Stepping Stone Inn. It is a little bit of a light blue color, beautiful place. So for my pros for the Stepping Stone Inn, first of all, like I said, it has an ideal location right across from the Common, right across from Goodnight Fatties, right next to the Salem Witch Museum, right near the Hawthorne, right near Essex Street. It's right there near everything. Another pro is that they provide a pretty personal experience with the staff, which is common for a lot of bed and breakfasts and is always a nice touch. So when we were there, we did get to meet the owners, which is a family who lives in the bed and breakfast. That is their home. And they were very accommodating. They talked to us, got to know us a little bit, made us feel very comfortable, and made us feel taken care of, where if we needed anything at all, we could always reach out to them or contact them. Next pro is that they do offer breakfast. So it is a bed and breakfast. Like I said, they offer breakfast in a little breakfast room downstairs. Now, when we had gone in the summer of 2021, COVID was still a little bit more of a concern. So instead of having breakfast there, they had given us a voucher to use for breakfast at the Red Line Cafe, which is on Essex Street. So unfortunately, we didn't get to experience breakfast in the Stepping Stone Inn, and I'm not sure if they're offering breakfast currently at this time, but if not, they would give you a voucher like they did for us. It's a beautiful, beautiful bed and breakfast, historic building, historic home. The owners told us the history of the home while we were there, gave us a lot of information on the structure of the home, the crown molding that was in it, who had previously owned it. So that was really nice because I'm definitely interested in history and historic homes specifically. So that was very cool to find out from the owners. So far, my pros for the Stepping Stone Inn are location, personal experience with the owners of the bed and breakfast. Breakfast is offered, so you don't have to worry about that on your stay. And for me, a pro was just that it was a historic home and so beautiful. Now for my cons. I really only have one con for the Stepping Stone Inn, and that was that the bathrooms inside the rooms were very, very small. Luckily, the rooms had their own bathrooms because that can't be said for all historic homes and bed and breakfasts. But they did have private bathrooms in the rooms you were staying in. They were just really tiny. I'm talking like turning around in the shower, my elbows were hitting the walls. But we were only there for 2 nights, so it was fine, but just keep that in mind. Bathrooms could be very small in the rooms. All right, moving on to our second hotel, we have the Salem Inn. I stayed at the Salem Inn on a trip by myself to visit friends there, in the spring of 2023. So last spring. It is currently, like I said, March of 2024. The Salem Inn is absolutely stunning. All of their properties are historic buildings, historic homes. The Salem Inn is actually made up of 3 separate buildings. So when you're booking with the hotel, you do need to specify which house you want to stay in. Now, among these 3 properties that you'll be choosing from if you stay at the Salem Inn, there is one that is pet friendly. If you know me, you know I'm a huge dog person, so that's amazing. And aside from Airbnbs, I believe they are the only hotel in Salem that is pet friendly and can accommodate pets. That's incredible that they have an entire property dedicated to people who want to bring their pets to Salem. Another one of their properties is adult only, and by that I mean that you cannot book that building if you are staying with children. I also love that so much. Again, if you know me, you know that I'm not a huge fan of children, except for my students, because I am a teacher and I love them. Children on vacation, children on airplanes, children in hotels, children who are not being parented is a huge pet peeve of mine. And so I think that's incredible to, if you want to, be able to book a hotel that guaranteed is not going to have children staying there. And then the third property that they have is just for whoever. So anyone can book that one. People with children, people without children, not people with pets though. You got to book the pet friendly property for that. That's an amazing pro of the Salem Inn, is that they have a pet friendly option, an adult only option, and then another option for anyone visiting. And the next pro is that, like the Stepping Stone Inn, it is a bed and breakfast, and they do serve breakfast each morning. And I mean breakfast. This is one of the best breakfasts I've ever seen in a bed and breakfast, just because usually it's a continental breakfast with toast, muffins, jams, that kind of thing. This breakfast had 2 lovely women who were working the breakfast room, making your breakfast by hand. So it wasn't a pre-made breakfast. They were making waffles, pancakes on the griddle. They had everything right there. Juices. It was really, really delicious and offered a lot of options. So I loved their breakfast. Now, when I stayed at the Salem Inn, I stayed in the Peabody House in their deluxe suite. My room also had a working fireplace in it, and if I were staying there in winter, I would absolutely have gotten that fireplace going. The room was stunning. It had a very spacious bathroom, and it also had a little kitchenette in it with a mini refrigerator. I think there was even an electric stove, if I remember correctly, a sink. So really everything that you could possibly need for a few days stay. You would even be able to make some of your own food if you wanted like a little snack at night. Definitely good value for your money at the Salem Inn. All right, moving on from the Salem Inn, we are heading over to the Coach House. The Coach House is a newer hotel in Salem. It is a boutique hotel. They've been open for just a little over a year now, and I had the opportunity to stay there on the same trip that I stayed at the Salem Inn. So I did Salem Inn for one night and then the Coach House for another night. Now, the Coach House is gorgeous. So if you like aesthetic places, then you'll love the Coach House. It's all black, white, and gold. Like the Salem Inn, the Coach House does have self-check-in and self-check-out. There is no one on site to assist you, but there is staff readily available that can help you if you contact them through an email or a text message. Even without someone on site, I did feel like I was very well taken care of and that I could get a quick response should I need anything. I wasn't sure how to work the air conditioning in my room, or maybe it was the heat, because it was pretty cold that weekend. And I had texted someone who was helping me out for my stay, and they answered very quickly telling me what I needed to do in order to get the heat up and running. So let's go through some pros for the Coach House. Like I said, it is aesthetically pleasing, a really beautiful hotel. It's spacious, it's clean, the rooms and the bathrooms are spacious. It is directly across the street from a spa. This place would be so perfect for a bachelorette weekend, a girls' weekend, an anniversary weekend, honeymoon, anything like that. Because you've got the spa right across the street. You have downtown Salem not too far away. There is a parking lot in the rear for guests. There was music playing in the lobby upon my arrival. It's sort of a very Instagram friendly place. I hate to use that term, but there are photo op areas set up in the hotel. So if you like that kind of thing, you'll love the Coach House. It is in a good location. It is a few blocks walking distance from Max and Danny's house. It's also walking distance if you like walking, probably be like a 10-minute walk to Pioneer Village. That being said, it is outside of the immediate downtown area, but it's also closer to Marblehead, and I love stopping by Marblehead whenever I have the time. And it's closer to a half-hour drive from downtown Salem, but from the coach house, it would be more like 15 minutes probably. Marblehead is a beautiful, historic little town, just like Salem. They have a historic district. It's on the water. It's also where Old Burial Hill Cemetery is, which was used for filming Hocus Pocus. Marblehead is a great spot to check out, and I like that the coach house is almost kind of halfway between Salem and Marblehead. So close to Marblehead, Max and Danny's, Pioneer Village. It is like a 23-minute walk from downtown Salem. Okay, so pros for the coach house. It is aesthetically pleasing. Self-check-in, self-check-out. The ambiance. It's clean, it's spacious, there's parking, spa right across the street, good location with a lot of fun things nearby, and again, just beautiful. The chandeliers are gorgeous. If you ever stay at the coach house, definitely look up. So the cons for the coach house would be that there's no breakfast offered. I love when breakfast is offered. I love a bed and breakfast. And the coach house is not a bed and breakfast, so I wouldn't expect them to serve breakfast, but it would be really great if they did have some kind of option like that, or maybe like a breakfast voucher. I don't know, something. There's no space in the building set up for that. But that's just my personal preference. I like breakfast to be an option, and it is not at the coach house. Another con is that, like I said, it's outside of the downtown Salem area. That could be a con for many because most people I know, including myself, prefer to just step outside their door and be in the midst of everything. With the coach house, you have to walk, like I said, about 23 minutes, or it's just like a 13-minute drive to downtown Salem, which isn't bad at all. I myself wouldn't feel comfortable walking to downtown Salem from the coach house, especially at night, and definitely not alone. Maybe if you're with a group of people and you guys feel more comfortable that way, it would be fine, but I personally would get transportation to and from my stay at the coach house. My last con is that it is very expensive. The coach house, I think, is the most expensive hotel in Salem. It's more expensive than the Hawthorne, which up until the coach house, I think was the priciest. I was lucky to have been hosted by the coach house, I will say that. So my stay there, my one-night stay, was a hosted stay. I did not pay for my stay, and I'm very grateful that I was able to work with them and collaborate with them to have that one-night stay and experience and check out their hotel, because there are so many great things about it. But I do have to be honest and say that if I were booking on my own without a hosted stay, the cost alone might deter me. Now, that's if I were staying by myself. If I was staying with another person or two other people, then that would be fine for me because splitting the cost, it would make it much more doable for me. But if I were staying there by myself, it would simply be too expensive for me. But that's just me, and maybe you can afford it, maybe you're fine with the price, maybe you can split it with someone and it won't be an issue for you, because it is such a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel, as you've seen in my photos and videos. Like all the other hotels I'm mentioning on this list, I do recommend it. Okay, on to the Hawthorne Hotel, what seems to be everyone's favorite place to stay for several reasons. Pros: it's right in the center of everything. Same location as the Stepping Stone, and it faces Essex Street, basically. It's across from the Common. Another pro is that there are restaurants and bars on site in the Hawthorne Hotel, so you don't even need to leave your hotel to grab a drink or get dinner. There is a concierge service. They are staffed at all hours, so there's always someone at the front desk. They have complimentary hot cider in the lobby year round, even in the spring. I think it's there in the summer too. Love myself some hot cider, so and my last pro is that it's a beautiful historic hotel. I have actually only stayed at the Hawthorne 2 times in my life. Once was my very second visit to Salem. I think it was 1999 at the time. I stayed there with my parents and my brother. We did a little family visit in October. And then I stayed there again for my husband and I's little mini moon that we did after our wedding. Needless to say, that was so expensive. It was Halloween weekend of 2021, but that was the second time that I've stayed there. Besides those 2 times, I've been in the hotel many, many times. I went to the Vampire Ball there. You can enter the hotel in the lobby even if you're not a guest. Obviously, you can go to their restaurants and bars. So I've been in and out of the hotel countless times, but only actually stayed there twice. Now for my cons. No breakfast offered. I already said that I love a breakfast option. Hotel does not offer breakfast themselves, but like I said, they have restaurants in the hotel. So you can easily access breakfast. You just need to pay for it outside of your reservation cost. Second con, the rooms can be really small. It kind of depends which room you book, and they don't really tell you all the time when your room is the same price as another room but significantly smaller. You don't really find that information other than finding out through other people who have also stayed at the hotel. But the rooms can be very small. The bathrooms can be even smaller. Like I said, it's a historic building, so that goes with the territory. Sometimes things cannot be altered so much, but some of their bathrooms are super small. And my last con is it's very expensive. I feel like all the hotels in Salem at this point are just getting, dare I say, out of control. Hawthorne is one of the even pricier hotels on that spectrum of prices, and especially for October, Halloween weekend was outrageous. But it was to celebrate our wedding, so we weren't really thinking about cost as much. I don't think I would ever book that again in October. Pricey, but you know, if you're sharing a room with someone, splitting it with maybe two other people, some of their rooms can fit more than just two, then it might not be so bad. The next hotel I'm mentioning is the Peabody Marriott. Now, this one obviously is in Peabody, it's not in Salem. It's roughly a 15-minute drive from downtown Salem, and I haven't stayed here actually since I was in college, but this was our go-to when we were visiting Salem. My college friends, my hometown friends, we would always stay outside of Salem because it was more affordable for us and still a very close distance. So it's a Peabody Marriott. Sorry if you hear steps in the background. Those are my dogs trotting around, pitter-pattering down the hall. It's a Peabody Marriott. It's a Marriott. So, you know, just your run-of-the-mill Marriott, nothing special, nothing outstanding, but it's a great option if you want a lower price point and you don't mind driving into Salem each day. It also gives you the opportunity to explore Peabody, which has a lot of witch trials history as well. So my pros for the Peabody Marriott are that breakfast is offered, you know, a little continental breakfast that you get with your stay. It's a lower price point, so less expensive than a downtown Salem hotel. There's probably more availability, especially in the fall. You still have to book way early, so don't get the wrong idea, but there's probably a lot more availability there than there would be at a downtown Salem hotel for September or October. Cons are, of course, that it is outside of the downtown area. A lot of people prefer staying in downtown. Con is that you need to transport yourself to and from Salem whenever you plan on visiting, and in the fall, that can be really tricky. So while a hotel like this one works well price point wise and availability wise for the fall, transportation is where it's not going to work so well. You're not going to want to drive every day because there's crazy, insane traffic trying to get into Salem, but you can take the train, which is also a great option and is close to the hotel. That is going to be super crowded as well, but it's going to get you to Salem fairly quickly and you'll avoid all of the traffic. That being said, for the fall, any other time of year, you're going to have no problem finding parking in downtown Salem, and driving back and forth will not be an issue at all. Another hotel I have to just quickly mention, which doesn't even exist anymore, but it must be mentioned, was the Clipper Ship Inn. This was a little hotel on, I think, Bridge Street, and it is currently the Cove. It has been remodeled, taken over, turned into a new boutique hotel. So what is now the Cove used to be the Clipper Ship Inn, which was the nastiest place I have ever stayed, possibly in my life, definitely in Salem. We stayed there, a group of girls, I think there were 4 of us, on a college trip to visit Salem in October, and I had actually booked the hotel. It was so nasty that I kept my shoes on the entire time because I refused to allow my feet to touch their dingy, disgusting carpet. So gross. So luckily the Clipper Ship Inn does not exist anymore and you don't have to worry about staying there. And the Cove is in its place, which you can check out. I have not checked out the Cove yet, but maybe I will at some point. All right, now moving on to a couple of different Airbnbs. I've only stayed in 2 or 3 Airbnbs in Salem. One of them was a single room right next to the Hawthorne Hotel, great location, good price. It was very affordable. It was a shared house situation. So the people who owned the house were obviously renting out the room, and you had shared access to their bathroom, which is not a preference of mine. I actually prefer to have a private bathroom and not stay in someone's house. But I did it for this trip because it was just a quick visit. And like I said, it was very affordable and right in the center of everything. You can definitely find Airbnbs for yourself or two people that are affordable, much more affordable than the hotels. Another Airbnb that I stayed in that was a very cool experience, but way, way, way too expensive, and I would probably not do it again, was a private room with a private bathroom inside someone's house on Chestnut Street. Yes, there is a house on Chestnut Street that rents out rooms as an Airbnb. I'm not going to give their address and put them on blast, but it is on Airbnb, and if you search hard enough, you can probably find it on there. The home is owned by a couple, and they rent out several of their rooms upstairs on the second and third floors as Airbnb rooms. I did this because I really just wanted to experience what it was like to be in a home on Chestnut Street. It's such an elusive area. Not elusive, but unattainable, we'll say. So that was just a cool experience. Their house was absolutely stunning, jaw-dropping, couldn't even handle it. Obviously a historic home. I already said how much I love that. They had like the old call buttons that people living upstairs would use to call down to the servants. You know, the old, like, it wasn't even a phone, it was just like the call buttons, but they were still on the walls. So cool to see. There was a working fireplace in that room as well, and a private bathroom that was very spacious, very clean. Step outside, you're right on Chestnut Street. It was beautiful. They also even rent out the entire house in the fall. So if you have a large group of people going and you want to stay on Chestnut Street and be bougie for a little bit, you can check that out. That's my little hotel roundup for Salem, Massachusetts. I will go ahead and say that I do have a favorite, and it's the Salem Inn. I've only stayed there once, but I would be very likely to book a reservation at the Salem Inn again. The breakfast really sold me, the fireplace really sold me, just the spacious rooms sold me. The fact that they have that pet-friendly adult-only option would sell me every time. I would stay at any of these hotels again. Granted, I could afford the stay, depending on what time of year it is. Sometimes the prices do get very expensive, but I really loved all these hotels. I had great stays at every single one. I hope my little pros and cons list could help people decide what's best for them. If you have any questions about specific hotels or even other hotels that were not on this list, please let me know in the comments. I do have plans to check out and stay at a few more hotels in the upcoming future. So I will be back with a second video giving pros and cons for hopefully a few more hotels. And if you had really great experiences or really not great experiences at any of these places, again, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what your favorite hotels are in Salem. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, if you liked this video, give it a little thumbs up, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!